The Treasure House of Knowledge serves as a snapshot of the National Library of South Africa, an amalgamation of the South African Library in Cape Town and the State Library in Pretoria. Its diverse collections reflect the tides of history, as well as the interests and prejudices of its private donors. Exploring the collections of the National Library of South Africa is like an archaeological excavation going backwards through layer upon layer deposited by the passing of time. Botanical, zoological, astronomical, and geographical research about South Africa's animals, plants, and natural wonders are represented in many valuable and important books in the National Library in Cape Town. Its collections contain most of the earliest records of exploration in South Africa, one of the finest of which is the 17th century Claudius manuscript. Sport and entertainment, like everything else in South Africa, was clumsily segregated by race, particularly between the years of 1948 and 1990. The library's collection contains a vast quantity of sport-related literature. Soccer, rugby, and cricket are predictably the best represented sports. It shows what South Africans, regardless of race, have traditionally done for recreation and the political circumstances in which it was undertaken. Spirituality and religion in South Africa have been well documented. Indigenous religions extend back long before recorded history, but in the past 4 centuries, Christianity and Islam have been the principal imported theologies, displacing earlier beliefs. Fortunately, much indigenous folklore has been recorded and, in this way, preserved. Between sport and spirituality lies popular culture. Represented in the library's collection is everything from folk songs to magazines, fashion reporting to memoir manuscripts, and newspapers to studies into the popular politics of South Africa. These materials give us a glimpse into the everyday lives and concerns of ordinary South Africans. To some people, all books are beautiful, conceptually so, because they embody knowledge. Some books, however, were conceived of as aesthetic objects in their own right, beyond their written contents. Some of the most precious items in the National Library's collection are also the oldest. In the days before modern printing, books were produced entirely by hand and might be richly decorated by skilled artisans. It hardly needs to be stated that each item is unique. Such items are immensely valuable, and many are exquisite works of art. Although the library's oldest book, or codex to use the technical term, is a 9th century gospel book, there is an even older textual artifact in the form of a Sumerian clay tablet with cuneiform inscriptions that is around 4,500 years old. Illuminated manuscripts from Europe jostle next to sumptuous books produced by local artists, together with many other beautiful works, on the National Library's shelves. Also housed in the library's collection are many books concerning the emergence and instruction of the Afrikaans language. Among these are the oldest Afrikaans texts ever written, surprisingly, in Arabic script. The oldest printing press arrived in the country in 1800, and since then, many great literary works, fiction and non-fiction, have been produced and published in South Africa. Some of the earliest written accounts of South Africa are to be found in the records of travelers who passed the Cape on their way to the Indies. Though often inaccurate or even fantastical, these accounts form an important resource for understanding how Europeans first saw and treated the indigenous population, and to some extent, how they saw the Europeans. The history of South Africa is recorded in hundreds of thousands of books, maps, illustrations, and original documents, and preserved in the collections of the National Library of South Africa. Materials ranging from rock art that speaks of a time before European settlement, to manuscripts of the time of Jan van Riebeeck, through to important publications on the struggle against racism and apartheid. The library has arguably the world's finest assemblage of documented heritage relating to South Africa's complex history.